Hello and welcome back to Tima podcast. Glad to have you all back on, and today's episode will be mostly focused on the League Cup and the results from Wednesday evening. We had some pretty interesting games and some very interesting conclusions to draw. As always, fan perspective, focusing on the fan opinion, delving into these big topics. Let's focus on the most interesting bits from the games and how perspectives have shifted as a result, because there have been some major developments. So let's first begin with a talking point, I guess. Manchester United beating Leicester City 5-2. Ruud van Nistelrooy in charge. Obviously Erik ten Hag being sacked. I've been covering that topic a lot. And for now, Ruben Amorim obviously is not in the job. And there's talks going over when he will join, because he has a 30-day notice period in his contract at Sporting Lisbon. So therefore it's uncertain when he might join. But let's talk about it. Old Trafford, Man United, 5 goals, 2 by Casemiro, 2 by Fernandes and 1 by Garnacho. It does seem like a very solid result. Let's look at the stats. Manchester United, 9 shots on target, Leicester actually 7. But overall, Man United having more possession at 56%, more shots on target, and generally being the better side overall, demonstrating very strong attacking ability. Now, is this really a game where we can draw highlights about Ruud van Nistelrooy? Because there was a time when people thought that Ruud came in as a backup for Ten Hag. As if Ten Hag gets sacked, then you're going to have Ruud as backup. And this wasn't a common opinion, but there were some people who thought that way. And actually that logic is very flawed, because Ruud was only brought in by Ten Hag. Ten Hag wanted Ruud. So this doesn't make any sense at all. And what really actually is the case is Ruud van Nistelrooy is only an interim. He will only be an interim, and it's very likely that he will leave after Ruben Amorim comes in, because Ruben Amorim will have his own assistant and his own coaching staff, and therefore Ruud van Nistelrooy might simply not have a future at United with Amorim in charge. But nonetheless, it's a good result, even though it's at home to not a very strong Premier League team, let's be honest, not the best Premier League team. Ironically, Man United are 14th as well, so they're quite down, they're not far away from Leicester, so you can't really say technically in league position Man United are a much better side. But of course, a solid result, and the question is who will be in charge against Chelsea. It's a big game for Man United, home game, Premier League, big game, and likely probably will be again Ruud van Nistelrooy, depending on how those negotiations go. So, again, we'll see what happens with Ruben Amorim. I personally don't think he's a crazy good appointment. I think he's a future visionary project. He's got an exciting style of play. He's quite young. His team won the Portuguese league twice. He's done some fantastic things for a league of that size. And relative to what he's done, it's phenomenal. To be able to go in there and beat that standout team and win is fantastic. But I'm just not sure if he has the power to handle that media, the players. It's not easy, right? Man United is a bit like a toxic wasteland sometimes for managers, just because of that pressure built on them. But let's actually now get into Liverpool. I've done a lot of Manchester United coverage already, so let's get into some Liverpool conversation here. Liverpool beating Brighton 3-2 at the Amex Stadium. So once again, another big test pass for Arne Slot. We had to rotate our team as did Brighton. We had injuries going into this game. Chiesa, Jota, Elliott all out. So not that easy. We rotated the squad a lot. There were in total 8 changes made from the last game. So quite a lot of changes. And I would say probably the only senior players on the pitch being senior and starting players being Andy Robertson, Luis Diaz, Dominic Szoboszlai and Cody Gakpo. So otherwise a lot of kind of the B team, Curtis Jones, Wataru Endo, Tyler Morton, Joe Gomez, Joe Kwanzaa, Conor Bradley, and Vyacheslav Jaros, who, by the way, had a very good game. Congrats to Jaros for his first full senior debut for Liverpool. And in terms of the game, it was quite dominating by Liverpool for parts of the game. We went 2-0 up. It seemed like we were coasting and cruising and chilling. But then Brighton, fair enough, kept pushing. But overall, in the end, the brilliance of Cody Gakpo and Luis Diaz was just far too much for them. And Gakpo had a sensational performance. He created the most chances in the game, scored the most goals. He was brilliant. And actually, he missed a massive opportunity to score a goal, and then like a couple minutes later scores the second goal to make it 2-0. So look, fantastic work by Cody Gakpo. He's really coming into form this season with some recent performances. And I'd say this is another big test, right? Brighton away is a challenging game. In general, Brighton are a difficult opponent for us. So I think this is another challenge ticked off the list. Both teams rotating, so you're not sure what to expect. We're playing at their stadium, so not bad at all, especially given the fact that we did play Arsenal a few days ago. So the pressure was really on us to do well, especially after a 2-2 draw, which was tiring, exhausting. We had put a lot of effort into it. So to come out in this game 3-2 on top, I think it certainly begins to challenge this narrative that Liverpool haven't played the best teams yet. And this was a rather silly narrative that apparently Liverpool didn't play the best teams, although it just doesn't make any sense. We played AC Milan away and won. We played a very informed RB Leipzig away and won. We played our biggest rival Man United away and won, even though we struggled against them last season. We then also beat Chelsea at home. We now beat Brighton away. And we drew Arsenal 2-2 at the Emirates. Again, a very tough game. One of the most toughest games you can have is by definition Arsenal at the Emirates. They are the second best team in the Premier League based on the last 2 seasons. So undeniably, we've done brilliantly. We've had some big games. We've handled them well. We've got all wins except for 1 draw and 1 defeat. So I think this whole silly narrative about Liverpool not being challenged yet makes no sense. We're already 3 games in this very tight and very difficult fixture list for Liverpool. And so far we are going strong, beating Chelsea, beating Brighton, draw against Arsenal. We're still second place in the league, 1 point off the top. So I think it's very interesting how, Arne Slot first comes in and everyone's saying how he might not handle the pressure. Liverpool will not be in a title race. Gary Neville adamant that Liverpool will not be challenging for the title. We clearly didn't prove that we can challenge for the title. We put up some brilliant performances. Then the narrative switches to actually Liverpool are doing very well because they played easy teams. And now we're playing the harder teams and we're proving ourselves. So I wonder what the excuse will be now. Oh, you played Brighton's B team. You played Arsenal's B team. Robbed by referees. These excuses are very silly and it's just typical anti-Liverpool sentiments out there. Doesn't make much sense to me at all. Let's credit Arne Slot for what he's done. He's done a fantastic job. He's been brilliant. He has proven a phenomenal transition from being an Eredivisie manager, so relatively lower level, to going to a very, very difficult job, literally coming off the back of one of the most legendary managers in our history, to slot in right that and deliver performance is just scintillating. I can't remember, apart from our league winning season and the other one where we scored 97 points and didn't win, we've not had a season like this opening in a long time. It is truly phenomenal. Even Jurgen Klopp couldn't do this every season, and Arne Slot has done this in his first season. So fantastic work. Of course, Klopp's contribution is immense in terms of assembling that squad and bringing the players to that level. We built a platform and now we're challenging for the title. So this result once again confirms Liverpool's strengths. Then Arsenal beating Preston North End 3-0, which I would call a rather routine win. I'd be stunned if Arsenal did not beat Preston North End home and away. After all, we know where Preston North End are. They're, come on, Championship team is a big difference to the Prem. But I would say with Arsenal, I still hold by my opinion that they just lack something about them. I said it in my predictions video. I think they have a lack of that winner's mentality because they haven't really got many winners, right? They've got players who've won the Premier League. So obviously Gabriel Jesus, obviously Raheem Sterling and Alexander Zinchenko. But these players won the Premier League with another team. So it's not really the same when you've got players who've won things with you and then when you've got players who've won things with other teams. And obviously won in completely different environments. And these players aren't even your first team. So out of your first team, again, Kai Havertz, he's won the Champions League. But again, he's done it with another club. How many Arsenal players have won things with Arsenal? The answer is nobody, except for if you count Saka, who technically did feature in that FA Cup win, although he was on the bench as I understand. So you can hardly make a case that Saka is a winner, therefore. He hasn't won anything with England, hasn't won anything with Arsenal. So therefore, overall, Arsenal haven't got any Arsenal winners. And it's very hard to challenge the biggest winner in world football, which is Pep Guardiola, or challenge Liverpool, who've got a team with plenty of winners. Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, League Cup, World Cup winners. And we're talking not just about our kind of older squad of, Robertson, Van Dijk, Alisson, Salah. I'm also talking about the newer players like Jota, who have won domestic trophies, McAllister, who's won a World Cup, then even the newer players like Kwanzaa, who won a League Cup with us. He played in the final and had a fantastic game. Arsenal, perhaps without that winner's mentality, will struggle. And one concerning side for them, I would argue, is their behavior in the second half at the Emirates against us last week. I think it was rather small-minded to start playing, the dark arts, wasting time in the second half. Players going down with cramp all the time. Hugo Timber, then Gabriel. I get Gabriel was injured, but during Timber it made no sense. The way he goes down once, gets up, goes down, gets up. And then David Raya, time wasting, what was it? The 66th minute? It just sounds silly. You need to behave like a top team. Liverpool and Man City don't start wasting time with a half an hour of football left to go. It's rather stupid. You're playing one of the best sides in the world on form, and you start time wasting with 30 minutes to go. That bit of mentality has to change. And if I was an Arsenal fan, I know Arsenal fans are highly defensive of their team. They're fantastic fans in the sense that they are super passionate, but sometimes I think they lose sight of reality. And you do have to admit that your team should have behaved a little differently. You should have pressed on more in the second half. Going defensive against Liverpool, who score lots of goals, is not particularly wise, and neither did you have the right players to play the defensive game like you did against City, because you are missing Gabriel, Saliba and other players. So was going defensive the right option? No. And I think that's where I talk about this winner's mentality, which I think Arsenal are in lack. And obviously, how can I ignore about Tottenham Hotspur beating Man City 2-1? Congratulations, Tottenham. It's a massive result to beat the champions, although I have to say City's arrogance here is crazy. Haaland unused substitute, bringing on all these youngsters, Jacob Wright, then other youngsters like Jay Simpson, and then a word. So yeah, just have a look at Man City Tottenham. Have a look at the player who came on the 74th minute for Man City. Jay Simpson something. I don't want to say that something to not get clipped, but yeah, have a look and then say it out loud. And yeah, interesting. And then yeah, Rico Lewis, of course, and James McAtee, Nico O'Reilly. So yeah, it's crazy to put out a youth team and not put up Haaland in a game against Spurs away. Crazy. And Mickey van de Ven getting a hamstring injury. So I'd say it's a concerning sign for Tottenham, but I think that it's a massive achievement for them. They've got to win the trophy, and realistically, the League Cup is your best shot. Man City are knocked out, you knock them out. You've now got a chance to go for a trophy. And once you get a trophy, that's a game changer in terms of confidence. You break this whole narrative about Spursism, and Ange Postecoglou arguably will go down as one of Spurs' best manager in recent years, by definition of what he's done of winning a League Cup. So, of course, going further now, Liverpool do face a much easier game. We play Southampton. And that, I think, is a blessing for Liverpool, because it would have been very difficult for us to face Arsenal or Spurs or even Newcastle, because those are challenging games. But now we're facing Southampton. Tottenham will play United at their own stadium, so that's a tough game for Spurs. Newcastle Brentford, I'd expect Newcastle to go through. And Arsenal Crystal Palace, again, I expect Arsenal to go through. So it's most likely the semi-final will be Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, and either Tottenham or Man United. So that would be a rather interesting semi-final, really packed with top quality teams. Really looking forward to that semi-final and the final. And I would certainly place Liverpool as the favourites. First of all, we've won it 10 times. We're the best team out there on paper in terms of where we are in the league table. We've got the best cup winning experience out of all these teams. We've won 3 domestic cups in recent years. no teams won that many trophies in recent years as well, except for Man City, who are not in the quarterfinals. So I'm very confident as a Liverpool fan. So yeah, I think that it's interesting to do a review of not just the Premier League. We've been able to discuss some interesting topics about Arsenal's and whether they have the right mentality. I think not. Liverpool and Slot's test once again being proven, and we'll get into more interesting details in future episodes. Thank you so much for listening, and I do wish you all the best.